The distress call. The observation deck of the Silveri High Council chamber fell silent as Chief Scientist Ilara Thenis displayed the tactical projections. The holographic display showed their home system, Silvera, surrounded by an ever-tightening net of enemy vessels. The Voidrakers have established blockades at all 7 hyperspace junctions, Ilara said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Her silver-leafed skin had dulled from its usual vibrant sheen, a physiological response to the stress affecting all Silveri in the chamber. Their main battle fleet will arrive within 22 cycles. High Counselor Varen Null, eldest of the gathering, slowly rose from his seat. Unlike the others whose bioluminescent patterns flickered with fear, his remained carefully controlled. "And the evacuation preparations?" he asked. "We can evacuate perhaps 8% of our population with current resources," Ilara replied. "If we focus only on children, perhaps 12%. A collective shudder passed through the assembled leaders. The Silveri, inhabitants of a lush garden world in a binary star system, numbered over 4 billion souls. Their civilization had flourished for millennia, developing art, philosophy, and science without the evolutionary pressures of a harsh homeworld. They had achieved space travel 5 centuries ago, but had focused on exploration and peaceful exchange rather than military technology. That peaceful nature had made them perfect prey for the Voidrakers. "What of the Galactic Conclave's response to our petition?" asked Minister Thalia, head of diplomatic relations. Varen's bioluminescent patterns briefly flashed deep blue, the Silveri equivalent of a bitter laugh. "The Conclave has declined direct intervention. They cite the principle of non-interference in regional conflicts." Regional conflict. Thalia's voice rose. "The Voidrakers have already consumed 3 systems. They're not a political movement. They're predators." "The Conclave worlds fear escalation," Varen said. "The Voidrakers have implied they possess weapons that could threaten even Class 3 worlds if provoked. And we know they've captured Conclave technology in previous conquests." Minister Torval, commander of their modest defense force, spoke next. "We've lost contact with our colony on Silvara IV. Our last transmissions indicated the Voidrakers have begun their harvesting process." No one needed elaboration on what harvesting meant. The Voidrakers didn't just conquer, they consumed. Every resource, every piece of technology, and every living being became fuel for their endless expansion. Ilara stepped forward again. "Counselors, I have a proposal. One that violates Conclave protocols, but at this point, we have nothing to lose." Varen finished for her. "Proceed." "We send a general distress call beyond Conclave space," she said, "into the uncharted regions." A murmur rippled through the chamber. For centuries, the Conclave had forbidden contact with uncharted space, particularly the regions designated as Deathworlds, planets with extreme conditions that produced dangerously unpredictable life forms. The closest potentially responsive system would be in Sector 3742. Ilara continued, bringing up a star chart. "It's a yellow star with multiple planets, one of which shows signs of technological civilization. Our long-range scans have detected artificial satellites and electromagnetic emissions. A Class 9 death world," noted Torval, studying the data. "Extreme gravity, intense radiation, atmospheric toxins, extreme temperature variations, aggressive ecosystem. The Conclave quarantined that entire sector for good reason. Whatever evolved there would have to be incredibly resilient," Thalia observed. "Or incredibly dangerous," added Torval. Varen considered the display silently before speaking. "The Conclave has abandoned us to our fate. We have nothing to lose by reaching beyond their boundaries." He turned to Ilara. "Prepare the transmission. Make it clear, make it desperate. If Deathworlders respond, well, perhaps one predator can be used against another." 3 days later, the most powerful communication array on Silvera Prime pointed toward the uncharted sector and began transmitting. The message was simple: mathematical sequences establishing intelligence, navigational data to locate their system, and images showing their world and the approaching Voidraker fleet. The core of the message translated roughly to, "Help us. Dying world. 4 billion lives. Please respond." The signal burst forth, traveling at light speed into the darkness of space where no Silveri communication had gone before. Chief Analyst Maya Patel rubbed her tired eyes as she monitored the deep space listening array. Her 12-hour shift at the United Earth Defense Force headquarters in Geneva was nearly complete, and the constant stream of data had begun to blur together. When the alert flashed on her screen, she almost missed it. "Wait a second," she muttered, sitting upright. The pattern recognition software had flagged something unusual, a structured transmission from well outside human-controlled space. Maya's fingers flew across the interface, isolating the signal and running it through advanced analysis protocols. Within minutes, she was staring at the unmistakable signs of an artificial transmission. Mathematical sequences too precise to be natural phenomena, followed by what appeared to be navigational coordinates and visual data. Her heart racing, Maya established a secure connection to her superior. "Director Chen, I need you to see this immediately. I think we've just received a first contact situation." 4 hours later, the highest levels of Earth's unified government had convened in an emergency session. The room contained military leaders, scientists, and political representatives from all major Earth factions, their attention focused on the holographic display at the center of the table. Director Amara Chen of the UEDF Intelligence Division stood beside Dr. Kenji Takahashi, Earth's foremost senolinguist. "The signal originates from approximately 63 light-years away," Chen explained. "A binary star system previously catalogued but not yet explored by our deep space probes." "And you're certain this is a distress call?" asked Admiral William Reeves, commander of the UEDF fleet. Dr. Takahashi nodded emphatically. "The pattern matches universal distress protocols. The mathematical sequences establish intelligence, followed by navigational data, and then visual information showing what appears to be a planetary system and an approaching fleet of vessels." He adjusted his glasses. "The encoding suggests a desperate plea for help. They're facing some kind of invasion or extinction-level threat." President Sofia Martinez leaned forward. "What do we know about these aliens?" "Very little," admitted Chen. "The visual data shows a planet with Earth-like conditions, but with approximately 0.8 of our gravity. The inhabitants appear to be humanoid, but with distinct non-human characteristics, including some form of bioluminescence. And the threat they're facing." Dr. Takahashi brought up another segment of the transmission. "These ships appear to be the aggressors. The message indicates they will arrive at the sender's homeworld within 22 of their time cycles. We estimate that translates to approximately 18 Earth days." Admiral Reeves studied the tactical display with a veteran's eye. "Classic encirclement pattern. Whoever these aggressors are, they're experienced in warfare." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe. They had developed their technology and military capabilities in isolation, driven by their own turbulent history and the harsh conditions of Earth that had forged them into survivors. Now, their first contact would be a response to a desperate cry for help. "We have 3 options," President Martinez finally said. "Ignore the signal, send a response but no direct aid, or intervene. We can't reach them in 18 days, pointed out General Sarah Jackson. Even our fastest ships would take at least 26 days at maximum burn. 26 days to their system," Admiral Reeves corrected. "But we don't need to reach their planet to make a difference. If we can intercept these aggressor ships en route, we might buy the aliens enough time to evacuate or prepare better defenses." "Are we seriously considering military intervention in an alien conflict?" asked the Chinese representative, Liu Wei. "We know nothing about either species or the political situation." "We know someone is asking for help," countered the Nigerian representative, Oluwaseun Adeyemi. "And we know what it means to face extinction." The debate continued for hours, Concerns about security and non-interference balanced against the moral imperative to respond to a direct plea for assistance. Earth's history had taught harsh lessons about isolationism and intervention alike. Finally, President Martinez called for a decision. Humanity has wondered for centuries what our first step into the galactic community would be, she said. Now we know. It will be an act of compassion, but backed by the full military might of Earth if necessary. She turned to Admiral Reeves. Prepare the first contact fleet. Your primary mission is humanitarian assistance, but you are authorized to use military force to protect both the alien petitioners and your own vessels. Admiral Reeves nodded grimly. How shall we respond to their signal? Keep it simple, Dr. Takahashi suggested. Use their own mathematical patterns as acknowledgement. Then 3 words. Help is coming. Within 48 hours, Earth's response signal was racing through space toward the Silveri system. Behind it, preparations began for the most important mission in human history. On the UES Dauntless, Captain Elena Rodriguez walked the length of the massive ship that would serve as the flagship for humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. At 1.2 kilometers long, the Dauntless represented the pinnacle of human military technology, a vessel designed to project power across vast distances while sustaining its crew in the harshness of deep space. Status report, she requested, entering the bridge where her command crew worked efficiently at their stations. Commander David Chen, her XO, approached with a datapad. All systems nominal, Captain. The fleet is assembled and ready for departure. 6 ships total: Dauntless, Sentinel, Valkyrie, Hyperion, Thunderchild, and Athena. Crew readiness. All personnel aboard and at stations. Medical has completed final checks and stocked additional xenobiology supplies based on the limited information we have about these aliens. Elena nodded, studying the tactical display showing Earth's formidable rescue fleet. Each ship carried not only humanitarian supplies, but an arsenal of weapons and defense systems developed over centuries of human conflict. The irony wasn't lost on her. Humanity's capacity for both compassion and warfare would be on full display in their first contact with an alien civilization. What's our time frame to intercept the hostile fleet? She asked. If our calculations based on their transmission are correct, we should intercept the enemy armada approximately 2 days before they reach the aliens' homeworld, replied Lieutenant Commander Aisha Okafor, head of tactical operations. Assuming, of course, that our hyperspace calculations are accurate for that region. Elena took her command chair, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Send the fleet-wide communication. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump in 30 minutes. As Commander Chen relayed the orders, Elena accessed her personal console and recorded a brief message. Captain's log, UES Dauntless. May 15, 2157. Today, humanity ventures beyond known space, not as conquerors or explorers, but as responders to a call for help. We do not know what awaits us, but we go prepared for both peace and war. The aliens who sent this distress call will soon learn that they've called upon a species forged in the crucible of a death world, a people who have survived their own worst instincts and the harshness of their planet to reach for the stars. She paused, considering her final words carefully. They asked the void for help. They're about to meet humanity instead. May we prove worthy of being their first contact with intelligent life beyond their knowledge. Rodriguez out. As the message concluded, the bridge crew completed final preparations. The countdown to hyperspace jump commenced. All ships report ready, Captain, announced Commander Chen. Elena gazed at the image of Earth, displayed on the main view screen, perhaps the last view of home this crew would have for a very long time. Take us out, Commander. Destination: Silvera. The 6 massive warships of humanity's first contact fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a planet united in hope and anxiety about what this mission would bring. In the darkness between stars, 2 desperate messages crossed paths, one crying for help, one promising salvation. Neither sender knew exactly what the other truly was. For the Silveri, help was coming. For humanity, a new chapter of their existence was about to begin. The Deathworlders arrive. The Silveri homeworld had changed in the 20 days since their desperate message was sent into the void. Once gleaming cities had transformed into fortified bunkers. Orbital defenses, hastily constructed from repurposed civilian technology, formed a fragile shell around the planet. The evacuation had begun, but with limited ships, the process was agonizingly slow. In the High Council's emergency command center deep beneath the capital city, Ilara Thenis studied the latest sensor data with grim determination. The Voidraker harvester ships have begun final approach, she reported to the assembled leaders. Their main battle fleet will be in weapons range within 6 hours. High Counselor Varin looked older than he had just weeks before, the bioluminescent patterns on his skin dim and slow pulsing. Status of evacuations. 300,000 departed on the last transport. Minister Philia replied. That brings our total to just over 4 million evacuated. Less than 1% of our population, someone whispered. The unspoken truth hung heavy in the chamber. The Silveri civilization was facing extinction. Their modest defense fleet had been obliterated in the outer system days earlier. The Voidraker advance ships had already landed on their outer colonies, beginning the methodical process of stripping those worlds of all resources, including their inhabitants. We received no response to our distress call, Varin noted, his voice heavy with resignation. The conclave worlds remained silent. The uncharted regions offered no salvation. We still have the ground defenses, Minister Torval said, though without conviction. Everyone knew their hastily assembled weapons would barely slow the Voidrakers. Ilara was about to speak when an urgent alert sounded from the sensor station. A young technician's bioluminescence flared bright with surprise. Multiple hyperspace ruptures detected. He called out, massive energy signatures, nothing like Voidraker technology. The main display shifted to show the outer system, where space itself seemed to tear open. Through these wounds in reality emerged 6 enormous vessels, their designs utterly unfamiliar. Are they responding to our call? Philia whispered, hope flickering in her patterns for the first time in weeks. Or another predator arriving to claim the spoils, Torval cautioned. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless as her fleet emerged from hyperspace on the outskirts of the Silveri system. Hyperspace exit complete, reported Lieutenant Park at navigation. All ships present and accounted for. Tactical assessment, Elena ordered, studying the binary star system displayed on the main view screen. Commander Okafor's fingers danced across her console. Multiple contacts detected. 2 distinct technological signatures. The larger group matches the hostile fleet described in the distress signal -78 vessels of various sizes in attack formation around the third planet. The second signature appears to originate from the planet itself and a few smaller vessels in orbit. Life signs. Billions on the planet, confirmed Dr. Isabella Torres, the ship's xenobiologist. The atmospheric and gravitational conditions match what we predicted from the transmission data. Oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, gravity approximately 0.8 of Earth standard. Elena nodded, processing the information. Communications, prepare first contact protocols. Let's announce ourselves. Captain, interrupted Commander Chen, the hostiles have altered course. A detachment of their fleet is moving to intercept us. How many? 12 vessels, weapons signatures powering up. Elena's lips thinned. Not unexpected, but not ideal either. She had hoped for more time to establish communication with the aliens who had sent the distress call. Battle stations, she ordered calmly. Shields at maximum. Prepare defensive protocols only. We're not firing unless fired upon. Throughout the massive ship, alert klaxons sounded as crew members rushed to their combat positions. Similar scenes played out across the other 5 ships of the human fleet. Let's try diplomacy first, Elena said. broadcast on all frequencies, universal mathematical sequences followed by our first contact greeting. The communications officer nodded. Transmitting now. For several tense minutes, the bridge crew watched as the approaching alien vessels continued their intercept course. Then, without warning, the lead ship fired, a searing beam of energy that struck the Dauntless's forward shields. Shields holding at 92%, reported the defensive systems officer. Minimal damage. Elena's expression hardened. So much for diplomacy. Target the lead vessel's weapons systems only. Precision strike. Show them what we can do without destroying their ship. The Dauntless's main particle cannon fired a precisely calibrated shot that sliced through the alien vessel's primary weapon emplacements without breaching its hull. The other vessels are continuing their approach, Commander Chen reported. No change in their attack posture. They're testing us, Elena realized. All ships, defensive formation Delta. Prepare for full engagement. What followed was humanity's first interstellar battle, a choreographed dance of destruction as the technologically advanced, but numerically inferior human fleet faced the onslaught of the Voidraker attack force. The Voidrakers fought with the confidence of predators accustomed to easy prey. Their tactics revealed experience in overwhelming less advanced civilizations through superior numbers and brute force. But they had never encountered humans before, a species that had honed warfare to a terrible art through millennia of conflict on their harsh homeworld. The human ships moved with precision that spoke of centuries of naval doctrine development. Their defense systems, designed to withstand the most punishing conditions of space, absorbed punishment that would have shattered the Silvery vessels. Their weapons, created by a species that had nearly destroyed itself multiple times with its own technology, cut through Voidraker shields with devastating efficiency. 3 enemy vessels disabled, reported Commander Okafor 20 minutes into the engagement. 4 more showing significant damage. We've lost partial shielding on the Hyperion, and the Thunderchild reports minor hull breaches in non-critical sections. Elena studied the tactical display, noting that the remaining Voidraker vessels were pulling back, regrouping. They're calling for reinforcements, she observed. Commander Chen, what's the status of the main Voidraker fleet? 36 vessels have broken off from their position around the planet and are heading our way. Estimated arrival in 22 minutes. Elena tapped her command console, opening a channel to the other ships in the fleet. This is Captain Rodriguez. Phase 1 complete. The enemy has taken the bait. Prepare for Phase 2. She turned to her tactical officer. Deploy the Aegis defense network. Full spectrum. Outside the human vessels, hundreds of small objects ejected into space, quickly forming an intricate web of automated defense platforms. The technology, developed for protecting Earth's orbital installations from meteor impacts and potential attacks, would now serve to create a defensive perimeter around the human fleet. Commander Okafor, prepare the HFY system for wide-field deployment. The officer nodded, her fingers flying across her console to activate the high-energy particle acceleration system, a weapon initially designed to clear orbital debris, but refined into one of humanity's most devastating space warfare tools. HFY is charged and ready, Captain. Wait until they're committed to the attack pattern, Elena ordered calmly. As predicted, the approaching Voidraker reinforcements adopted a standard envelopment formation, likely expecting to overwhelm the numerically inferior human fleet through coordinated fire from multiple angles. They're entering optimal HFY range, announced Commander Okafor. Elena's eyes narrowed. Execute. The HFY system activated simultaneously across all 6 human vessels, creating overlapping fields of accelerated particles that shredded the shields and outer hulls of the Voidraker ships caught within the effect radius. Unlike conventional weapons that targeted individual vessels, HFY affected an entire region of space, a concept the Voidrakers clearly had never encountered before. 15 enemy ships were immediately disabled, their propulsion and weapon systems failing as critical systems overloaded. The others scattered, their formation broken. Phase 3, Elena commanded. Tactical ships advance. The Valkyrie, Thunderchild, and Athena surged forward, their specialized weapon systems targeting the disoriented enemy vessels. Meanwhile, the Dauntless, Sentinel, and Hyperion maintained the protective Aegis network, preventing the remaining Voidrakers from regrouping. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, 47 Voidraker vessels had been disabled or destroyed. The remaining ships retreated to rejoin the main fleet, which had begun to withdraw from its position around the Silveri homeworld. The enemy fleet is regrouping at the edge of the system, reported Commander Chen. Long-range sensors indicate they're preparing for hyperspace jump. They're running, someone on the bridge said incredulously. No, Elena corrected. They're adapting. They've never encountered resistance like this before. They'll be back, possibly with a larger force. She turned to communications. Any response from the planet? Yes, Captain. We're receiving transmissions on multiple frequencies. They appear to be thanking us. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Open a channel. Let's properly introduce ourselves. In the Silveri Command Center, the atmosphere had transformed from resignation to astonished hope. The holographic displays showed the retreating Voidraker fleet and the 6 massive vessels that had appeared seemingly from nowhere to drive them back. The transmission is coming through now, announced the communications officer, his skin glowing brightly with excitement. The main screen flickered and then displayed an image that caused gasps throughout the chamber. The being on the screen was bipedal and generally humanoid, but its appearance was startling to Silveri eyes. The creature had no bioluminescence, its skin a rich brown color with no light patterns. Its frame was compact but densely muscled, suggesting tremendous physical strength. Most striking were its eyes, dark, intense, and conveying an alertness that seemed almost predatory. Greetings to the people of Silvera, the creature said, its voice translated by the Silveri computers. I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth Defense Force vessel Dauntless. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance. Varen stepped forward, his own patterns glowing with formal greeting colors. I am High Counselor Varen Nall of the Silveri Confederation. We are profoundly grateful for your intervention. You have saved billions of lives this day. The human captain nodded. The Voidrakers, as you call them, have retreated but likely not permanently. We should prepare for their potential return. With your permission, we would like to establish a more direct communication and begin coordinating defensive measures. Ilara couldn't contain herself. How did you defeat them so easily? Our own defensive fleet was annihilated within minutes of engagement. A slight expression that the Silveri couldn't interpret crossed the human's face. We come from a world very different from yours, one that has shaped our technology and our understanding of warfare. Earth is what you might call a high-stress environment. We evolved to survive it. The implication slowly dawned on the assembled Silveri. These weren't just alien rescuers, they were Deathworlders, creatures that had evolved on a planet so harsh that it had forced them to develop extraordinary capabilities just to survive. Minister Torval leaned toward Varen. We've called forth predators to fight predators, he whispered. Perhaps, Varen replied quietly. But these predators respond to calls for help. The conversation continued, laying the groundwork for what would become the first formal alliance between the Silveri and humanity. Within hours, human ships had established orbit around Silvera Prime, deploying defensive systems and beginning the process of transferring technology that would allow the Silveri to better defend themselves in the future. 3 weeks later, Captain Elena Rodriguez stood in the newly established Joint Command Center in the Silveri capital. Through the transparent dome overhead, she could see both the UES Dauntless in orbit and the growing network of defense satellites being constructed by combined human-Silveri engineering teams. The Voidrakers have withdrawn to a position 12 light-years from here, reported Commander Chen, studying the long-range sensor data. They appear to be gathering reinforcements. As expected, Elena replied. They're not used to losing. Ilara Thenis approached, her skin glowing with patterns that Elena had learned to recognize as indicating intense curiosity. Over the past weeks, the Silveri scientist had become the primary liaison between their species, her insatiable appetite for knowledge matching Elena's own. Your engineers have completed the modifications to our planetary shield generators, Ilara said. They estimate coverage will reach 85% by the end of the week. Elena nodded. The Voidrakers will return, but they'll find a very different Silvera waiting for them. Your people have given us more than technology, Ilara observed. You've given us perspective. For generations, the Conclave taught us that Deathworlders were dangerous aberrations to be avoided at all costs. They spoke of your kind as little more than clever animals, creatures of violence shaped by violent worlds. And now? Elena asked with a raised eyebrow. Now we understand that strength and compassion can coexist. That perhaps the harsh crucible that forged humanity also instilled in you a profound understanding of the value of life, precisely because you've had to fight so hard to preserve it. A communication alert sounded, interrupting their conversation. A holographic display activated, showing Admiral Reeves from Earth Command. Captain Rodriguez, the Security Council has reviewed your reports and the data you've transmitted about the Voidrakers. We're dispatching the Second Fleet to your position to establish a permanent human presence in the Silvera system. Additionally, diplomatic teams are being assembled to formalize our alliance with the Silveri. Understood, Admiral. The Silveri High Council has already granted permission for a permanent Earth outpost in their system. There's more, the Admiral continued. Analysis of the recovered Voidraker technology confirms our suspicions. They've been preying on less developed civilizations throughout this sector for centuries. The diplomatic corps believes there may be other potential allies in nearby systems, other victims of the Voidrakers who might welcome contact with Earth. Elena exchanged glances with Ilara. The Galactic Conclave won't approve of humanity extending its reach into their territory. The Conclave abandoned the Silveri to their fate, Admiral Reeves replied firmly. They've demonstrated their priorities. Humanity has different ones. We answer calls for help. Elena smiled slightly. Humans have a saying. With great power comes great responsibility. We didn't venture into space looking for fights, but we won't ignore those who need our help. Outside the command center, the skies of Silvera were changing. Human ships and Silveri vessels moved in coordinated patterns, a dance of two species learning to work together. On the surface, exchange programs had begun, with human specialists teaching defensive tactics while learning about Silveri biology and culture in return. The Voidrakers would return, and the Conclave would eventually have to acknowledge the new force that had emerged in their carefully ordered galaxy. But for now, in this moment, something unprecedented was taking shape. An alliance between a peaceful species that had evolved in gentle harmony with their world and one that had been forged in the unforgiving crucible of a death world. The universe would never be the same again.